And we are live. This is Naturally Gnar episode.
Uh-oh.
I forgot.
I don't remember.
I forgot. But we're with Sasha from TougeCon, from Yankee Special, and your new, or at least announced new print shop.
Yeah. Torarama.
What is it called?
Torarama.
Okay, cool. Right on. Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for having me.
Dude, for sure.
Welcome.
For sure. Brad in the house. So,
Yeah.
dude. Hanging.
Sasha?
Yeah, Sasha. Dude, how do you pronounce your last name?
Rayevskiy.
Dude, I've butchered it like a million different times. It's like
Sounds easy.
It is.
Raven Shinsky, Raven Sky. I've said it in my head so many different ways, and it's all of them. You're all of them. So
Yeah.
deal with it.
I mean, it's one of those. It has so many letters that people get overwhelmed when they see it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so if you just use phonetic skills and
Yeah,
just break
dude.
it down into 3 segments, like
That-
it is, it's
that-
Rayevskiy.
Dude, that might be what I'm lacking.
That's awesome. No, you're right. It's got so many letters in it that
Yeah.
people are just like trailing off.
I think I
Putting
just
too
lacked
much in it.
I lack
Yeah.
the patience, I think is what it was. Is I just hammered right into it and just like trying to just blurt
Yeah,
out
like
some stuff.
I mean, like most of reading is just like you're used to the shape of a word.
Yeah.
Right.
You read the first 2 letters and then you're like, oh yeah, it's that word.
Dude, yeah, and I think that's how a lot of people end up doing like reading, speed reading a lot of
Mhm.
things, is doing stuff like that. But yeah, dude, we're not here to talk about that nonsense. We're here to talk about cars.
Yeah.
And guess
and print shops
and print shop
Yeah.
and everything in between. I think one of the things that I wanted to preface was that we when you and I got into this conversation, the overarching thing was the crossover between like skate
Yeah.
and auto.
Yeah.
I mean,
huge. I feel like
it's
there's
there.
just a few subcultures that really cross over really well into one another, like skateboarders, hardcore kids,
Mm-hmm.
all cross over into like cars or screen printing. Or and sometimes both.
pretty
Hey, I know a lot of
applicable.
skateboarders do screen printing stuff, like
And-
or work in
For
shops,
sure.
or
Yeah.
did
And
Yeah,
like
for
musicians especially.
for
it's
sure.
like
Artists,
half the
musicians.
print shops are like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, man, we used to be in a band together and we needed t-shirts, so I learned how to screen print.
Totally. I've done some screen printing as a skateboarder and as a car enthusiast, so I can verify
Yeah.
all of this.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how it works out.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily planned, but you know.
You know,
Follow it.
yeah, I think that's definitely one of the unifying things. I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of just like parallels as we go, but that's definitely one of them. Is skateboarding is such a DIY culture.
Yeah.
And so is like auto and the tuning culture is so DIY.
Cars and trucks, man. People love to DIY their vehicles, man.
Yeah.
No matter really what it is.
Yeah. Yep. My thing was, in skating in Fayetteville, one of our things was, I was a part of a group of people who would, we would skate, and then like on our off time, we'd watch skate videos, but we would like also like look at like car parts and like used cars and like dream on like what our like, dream build would be. So,
Yeah.
and like playing some racing games.
Playing Gran Turismo.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Gran
yeah.
Turismo for sure.
Yeah.
Need
Need for Speed Underground.
Need for
When
Speed
that
Underground
came out, it was just
Oh yeah.
next level.
Absolutely. Which I was actually really stoked with. So TougeCon last year, that was our first interaction, Gnarkansas and TougeCon. We were there,
Yeah.
and was it Underground? The Underground was
Yeah.
themed off of a Need for Speed Underground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
Yeah. Even like borrowed the logo.
I wondered about that. Like the font was a little sus to me. I was like, I think I'm making the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Why
was
not? It was paying homage.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Because everybody, especially people of our generation, like we grew up playing that video game.
Oh,
and
yeah.
played it for years and years and years. And so it's like we've always wanted to relive that kind of experience.
Oh, dude, 100%. I was talking about video games and like switching between like we were literally switching between like Tony Hawk Pro Skater and Need for Speed Underground.
That's what I'm saying.
You're like
you Tony Hawk and
those,
then you're racing, whatever.
or whatever that was out at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, there was definitely like the evolution. It's funny, I never thought about this parallel. That like the evolution of skate games and racing games as they were kind of gaining their figuring out themselves. Like they're learning about who they were. So like racing games would figure out if they're an arcade game or a simulation.
Yeah.
And skate games were doing the same thing as they were trying to figure out like, are we catering to an arcade market or are we trying to like make like a simulation? Yeah. Or something serious.
Yeah, something to home.
But yeah, video games and back and forth. Like that's all I probably played is skate games and racing
skate
games.
And race.
Oh yeah. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1.
Oh, dude.
I mean, that was an eye opener for like so much music.
Oh yeah,
that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it had all the good bands on there, and then like it was just super super good.
Yeah.
I played a bunch of fighting games.
Yep, fighting games, dude.
I played fighting games and lots of Zelda.
No, dude, it's okay. Don't feel bad.
I still play lots of Zelda.
We're not shaming you here.
Yeah, Zelda's cool.
I like Zelda. Yeah.
Yeah, A Link to the Past is the best one.
Yeah,
Wow.
right. Yep.
Ocarina for me.
See, we got a real Zelda expert here to tell us what.
Total nerded out on that one.
I feel like everyone I talk to about Zelda is always like, N64 is the best one.
That's
and
it.
I'm like,
Ocarina.
You're lying. It's the Super Nintendo model.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that one, but that Zelda game Ocarina was the first time that you could ever get a horse on a video game, and that was a big deal because like you said, it's advancing.
True.
It's like, oh, I can just hop on a horse and take off. Like
Travel.
I know that sounds stupid now, but that was like
it was increased rate of travel, so you could like
wild.
and it was like there was a difference between games that were like you would actually travel or you would fast travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually remember I don't know which Need for Speed Underground it was. It might have been the first one where it was open world and you drove to your next thing. Like it was like you spent time in the open world and you were, like given the free roam to go from thing to thing. Yeah. And I think that was one of the things that I remember being like with racing games. I was like, this is it, dude. Just driving around. Yeah. Just driving around, dude. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. But yeah, let's talk TougeCon for a minute. TougeCon this year.
Yes. September 6th and 7th.
Yeah.
In scenic Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yeah.
That's right.
We're very excited to pull it off again. Last year was a huge success, and we're just trying to improve on it even more.
Gotcha.
No, I think it's cool. Like, it's a beautiful time to be in Fayetteville, not just on the square, but where they go cruise, man, where y'all go cruise at. It's like, man, that's really good roads out there. It's really beautiful out there. And as a local, I can tell you that just to be here for just a minute, for a day or two, to be in it, that's a good spot to go ride.
Yeah, and so like we're definitely because the event started and is at the core like a driving event. The car show and all the other stuff is just a bonus. But so with like our focus on the driving, we've expanded to 5 routes instead of 3, partially because of the date change. We're not competing with Bikes and Blues this year,
right?
So that opens up a whole other segment of the state that we didn't really have access to before. In fear of, we're enthusiasts, so we don't want to ruin someone else's time,
right?
On a fun route.
Makes it hard for your people to get hotel rooms or anything else.
Yeah,
too.
but like the main thing is like, if we've got 40 cars, that takes up a lot more room than 40 motorcycles.
Yeah, for sure.
And everyone goes at a different rate, so it's like I don't want to like deal with any kind of conflicts, and really it was just like too big of a shock to the system of Fayetteville. Like we just don't have the infrastructure to handle 3 large events simultaneously. Yeah. So I was like, we'll just change the date. It kind of works out a little better for us and for me personally, because I vend with my own brand at TougeCon and other events. There's a Gatlinburg event that was like a week after, not even. So like, I had TougeCon, finished that up. 3 days later, I'm back on the road to go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
That place is beautiful too.
Yeah.
And the logistically, that was probably really tough to not only for yourself, but like for other people that you were trying to involve in this event here.
Yeah, exactly. And like I, love the dudes from Slammed Enough who run the Gatlinburg event, and another, reason we changed the date was to kind of create some cushion between the two,
Right?
because I don't want to compete with them, and
Sure.
we have pretty different demographics, but there's still a lot of crossover, and
Might give
everyone
them the
to
opportunity
succeed.
to come up here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just like exhausting. It's like,
A week.
I probably walked my little step counter that I had
Yeah.
Oh,
died
nice.
the first day,
Wow.
and then the second day
You stepped it
tore
out.
it out.
it
You stepped it
recorded
out.
like 28,000 steps or something.
Yeah.
And Caleb, my business
No, it
partner,
was
had
tough.
an insane amount of steps that weekend. So I was like, yeah, we're really tired.
Dude, I was kind of thinking, I was like, I want to play through the after movie.
Yeah.
Then we could maybe like talk through it as it's going.
Yeah, Chris Flink did a phenomenal job on this.
I think I've seen this one, right?
You probably have. I'm gonna keep the audio down so that we can talk over it.
The audio is the best part in this intro.
Oh man, but we gotta talk over it. This is everybody. If you want to watch this video, go to is it Flink?
Yeah, Flink
Flink
Films,
Films
on
yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube.
And really, if you just YouTube TougeCon, it's
yeah,
like the first thing.
It's
that
the
pops
first
up.
thing that pops up. You're right. And so yeah, if you want to watch this video in full, go check it out. Give it a like, thumbs up. But yeah, I mean, I was really impressed after this came out too, because I really did feel like he really showed what it was like.
You captured
to-
all the
to
aspects
be
of
there.
it for sure.
Yeah. And I think that was really important, is like the storytelling
Yeah.
of getting more people to come, like getting more allure towards the event.
Yeah, a lot of it, which like Chris and I discussed, when we approached him about this project. I was like, definitely want to do, because I've seen some of his other semi-documentary work, and so I was like, hey, let's do a similar style with the TougeCon video, because I really want to focus on explaining to people what the event is, because it's really hard to explain the dynamics of the whole event through just 2 paragraphs or something.
Sure. Yeah.
But whenever you have visual context and the people who started it explaining it, makes it a lot easier to understand and get a better feel for it. With the car show, for instance, the first year we had it in Fayetteville, the car show aspect was kind of lacking before the event started, because people didn't realize where the car show actually was. And because we're it's on the Fayetteville Square, and anybody from out of state didn't understand what that was. And then
Right.
once photos released of it, they were like, "Oh, this is really cool."
Oh, dang. I should have went to that.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember when you told me about where it was, that it was going to be in the parking garage, and immediately, as somebody from Fayetteville, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh, that's amazing! That's a great idea."
yeah,
And then, but somebody that hasn't seen it before, they're like, "What's the town center?"
Yeah.
We're doing it at some random Fayette, like town center space, which is probably some convention center.
yeah.
And it's like, no, it's cooler than that. You got to see it.
Yeah, because that's kind of my thing.
Google that shit.
Yeah,
I,
you got to. Google for real. Google it. You see this.
Yeah, because Fayetteville is such a quirky little town.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't meet the norm
Mm-hmm.
of most towns and stuff. So
That's right.
you look at the downtown and you're like, yeah, this is a nice scenic little spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I partially forgot that because with my thinking of oh, what am I gonna do next year or make it better? And I was thinking of changing the location, and then the video came out and it had all the drone shots and stuff, and I was like, yeah,
So-
this is the vibe.
You were like,
this
yeah.
is
You're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
is-
meant to
yeah,
show them that.
this
That's
is
what I'm
why
saying.
it's
When you
here.
see that square and all those cars, you're like, oh, dang, I got to get to that, because that's gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
the fall.
Mhm.
Whether, even if the trees are still a little green or if they're all brown, it still looks cool up there.
Yeah, it's
I mean-
beautiful. There's tons of food.
That's right.
It's open. I mean, it just has.
Dude, they cruised all the way out to the Buffalo River, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man.
That's a part of the routes, right?
That's one of them. Yeah.
So
Dude, that's sick.
can you explain the routes and like that side of the event for somebody who's not familiar with like this type of an event?
Yeah. So it's you sign up for like a curated route. So we have guides. We have like route leaders, and then we have 1 to 2 extra staff people within the route. So like we have a leader in the middle, and then someone bring up the rear.
Got it.
We limit it to 30 cars per route, so it's like a good manageable size. 40 and above is really difficult,
Sure.
especially when it comes to pacing. And so we just kind of figure out these routes, and we work with any local businesses in the area to maybe figure out lunch or whatever. And like one of our main, like our staple route is the one that goes to OR Cafe.
Oh yeah.
And that owner, he's the man. Like our first year we did it, he was super stoked on it. And because he was like, it's a bunch of Japanese cars. We're like, yeah, like stuff like we have, because we went and tested out the route. And he was so stoked, he made a custom burger.
Sweet.
Oh, I love that.
for the event. And
That's great.
and we brought, I don't know, 200 people or something, 150 people
See,
to
man,
his
helped
restaurant.
him out too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Dang,
we were
that's
just like
sick.
stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's our staple route. Like if you want like the full-on genuine TougeCon experience, go on Route 1. If you've been on it before, experience one of the other routes. That's what we're branching out, so you can see all the different parts of NWA. But like the OG route is awesome. It's got all the cool little like twisties. It's not a race at all. It's just like, hey, check out the scenery, hang out with a bunch of cool people, enjoy some good food, and
Everybody likes going around those corners in a slam car. Come on now.
yeah,
It's
you don't
it's
gotta
fun to
haul ass.
cruise.
It just feels good too.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like this,
cool.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and there's like certain parts of like that OG route where like you're like going through the turn, and there's like, like a brick wall kind of looking thing, and like a guardrail, and you're just like, this is a scene from Initial D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, yeah, I'm in
I'm
Japan.
in the I'm in
like-
I'm in a movie.
Yeah, and funny enough, we're actually latitudinally and longitudinally, or like somewhere, we're on the same longitudinal plane
Really?
as Japan.
Interesting.
Like
Didn't know that.
one of the local
Yeah.
guys was like, when we first were talking about the concept of TougeCon, he like was like, oh yeah, did you know that Japan's actually in the same, like in the mountainous areas and stuff? So like
Crazy.
weather's
Yeah,
pretty
because
similar.
Fayetteville's kind of unique where it sits.
Yeah.
It's not really high, but it's not flat on the. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I like when you come up from the south on 540 or whatever, and you come over the hill, and,
Yeah.
and just it's just stuck in the side of the hill. You
Yeah.
can see it, and you can see like all the different things. And you're like, dang, this place is sick.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
even a lot of these places where you're like going into a lot
I
of
do
these
gotta
valleys
ask,
and stuff.
So it's really hard to get drone footage at the Buffalo.
That's all Chris.
He had to, yeah.
He got it.
Because I know me and somebody else went out one time, and he took his up, and he posted it, and they were like,
Well,
yo.
I know
Yeah.
I know with certain permits and or certain licenses,
Yeah.
like license statuses, you're allowed to do certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you're a legit pilot,
You can get the.
you can get
Yeah,
Okay.
and Chris travels
yeah.
all over the place.
Hey, so I got to say, this building is the old post office that they park
Yeah.
around. And back in the day, when you carried your 6-shooter, you didn't come up to that place without bringing your pistol. That for
Oh,
real. That
that's
is some
funny.
for real history. Like that was the place to get shot. in
That's the place
Fayetteville
to get shot.
back in early 1800s.
Right,
late
right,
1800s.
right.
yeah, now it's a restaurant.
Now it's a restaurant.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of restaurants.
Yeah.
So we were in the town center. So I think that's another thing to talk about is like so last year was at the town center. This year change of venue, right?
No.
No.
We
Oh, so we're
decided
back.
to.
Okay.
We sat down with the city a few months later after the video was done and everything, and kind of chit chatted with them, and thought about maybe other prospects of locations, but really at the end of it, like the vibe of like being in the middle of a downtown
Okay.
was just where it's at, and so the city
Yeah,
was like,
It's
hey,
too good.
Yeah.
let's if you need more space or whatever, like we can figure that out through
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, cool.
Just
cool.
paperwork.
Well, so yeah, I mean, I guess misspeaking. There was a potential change of venue,
Yeah.
but like
I'm kind of glad you get to stay. I like the vibe of the parking garage. I know the other place we talked about.
well, one of the things that I was stoked about, or I'm stoked about now to hear this, is that it's like evolving. Because me being the production manager at the event, I was like wanting to do so much, and I was like, okay, so next year I'll do something. So like now knowing that we're gonna have some to do an event again, and to be like, okay, last year I wanted to do this. So, and then being able to do that, you only are able to do that in the same space. When you go to a new space, it's like new challenges, new environment.
Are you going to be able to expand in the existing spot? You know what I mean? Like if you get bigger?
Yeah, the city's super down with it.
I just don't remember the layout of the town center. Are there more rooms?
We took
most
of it.
Yeah, so the actual town center itself, is more than big enough.
Yeah.
All we have to do really is we kind of went a little too hard on the RC track. We gave them like a 50 by 50.
There's a lot of space.
Spot. Yeah,
dude, it was sick. People would like showing up with their own cars and be like,
it was sick.
It was
super sick. So we're focusing on like downsizing the RC track a bit, but upscaling it.
RC track on the screen right now.
And like Justin's one of my closest childhood friends.
Cool.
And he's the one that runs all that. And
cool.
It was his idea.
Phenomenal.
So it was like, hey man, let's make it cooler and better.
Yeah.
Like, anything you need. Like he went and made all the fake little garages.
Yeah, I was all the stuff on the side. I was like, oh, look, he made a crane. There's a crane, like a work spot,
it's
a garage, and it was cool.
And then you were talking about how it's not a race, it's a drive. Yeah. And that was one of the things Jay was on the screen a moment ago. I remember talking to him about that he was actually like, he said it was refreshing to have an event that he didn't have to worry about if his car is going to break down because he's not going hard. It's like, this is just one of those events that I can chill.
He doesn't have to sling it sideways or burn a bunch of rubber. So
and we're not, and because we are backed by the city, like,
got to behave a little bit.
We have to behave a bit.
Yeah.
Whatever people do on their own time is on their own time. Like,
you aren't anywhere near what they do during Bikes Blues. It's people ripping. I've been part of that.
When it comes to respect,
you guys weren't ripping compared to anything.
Yeah.
Not in comparison.
No.
Yeah.
Not in comparison. No.
And we want to keep that relationship healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
You want to be able to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that I explained it to somebody as it was more it wasn't a car show. It was like an example of car culture. Like it was like a snapshot of car culture.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be racing. It doesn't have to be a car show. It was almost just like a really big hang.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, because a lot of like-minded people, and kind of, we added the car show and stuff as elements because there's people that are into that. There's people that aren't into it. Same thing with the drives. So it's like, let's just we essentially modeled it after like, let's just make a cool car event. Like it doesn't have to be a specific thing. We just wanted to have a cool event with cool driving and be able to hang out with a bunch of cool people.
Right.
See, they have other car shows like in Eureka Springs a lot of times, the Corvettes or the Volkswagens, and that town's small and those events get pretty big and they don't do a lot of they do the rides, but it's more like a parade through downtown.
Yeah.
And it's like, and there's a lot of twisties up that way too. It's like, dude, you could go just for a drive. And I'm not saying it's a bad spot, but being here and more centralized and you just dump off the hill and go your routes. It's super simple to get out to.
Our beta test was actually in Eureka Springs. And I was 2 hours late to my own event. I was still screen printing T-shirts the morning of loading up, and it was like the hottest day on earth. It was in like July or something, and the hotel that we booked for like the parking lot decided to double book, so we had half of our time slot.
Dang.
Yeah, but we had like 200, 250 people show up from random places, and the biggest complaint was it's too hot. And which
it could be that time of year.
Insanely hot.
Right.
Yeah.
But I personally I used to be in a Miata club back in the day when I was like 18, and went to Eureka a couple times for like the big Miata meets and stuff.
Yeah.
And Eureka's a cool town, but it's not that accommodating to a lot of things. Like the food's not the best.
Well, it's definitely
There's a few spots, but
you might have triggered some people with the food thing.
no,
No,
I know.
There's some restaurants that are great.
There's
Yeah.
a few good restaurants, but there's
It's
not
like-
a really big diverse.
You're
like,
right,
Oh,
you're
even
right.
if I want to go an extra mile out of my way to get something.
Yeah.
some
Well, it's
bomb
hard also
food.
scheduling anything there because it is such a tourist location.
Yes,
That like there's no parking
that's
ever.
it. That's in season.
I think that is that aspect there is what
It's
compounds making it so tough.
spark.
Like it makes it seem so
Yeah.
tough that it's like, wow, all of these other aspects seem prevalent as well. But like the lack of parking and the lack of like infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
road
it's just
maintenance.
not. It's just not
you
there.
guys are pretty low to the ground, and Eureka's got a lot of funky driveways and speed bumps.
Oh
and
yeah, we had
so
one of our guys
even getting
high
down
point.
into that parking lot at the convention center's kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, one of our guys high pointed and
in Eureka.
in Eureka,
I can
like on like not even a crazy little
see that.
spot, and his car wasn't even low. Like I think
I could see
it was
that.
about the height of what my car is right now, maybe. And
I
he
can
went,
see that,
"Ah,"
dude.
and they had to get out and like push it off.
I could see that. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. In Fayetteville, most of that you don't have to worry about a lot of that.
Yeah, and that's like a big part of it. Whenever the city kind of they followed me from my art career and stuff a bit, and so like they reached out and were like, "Hey, what's this weird car event you're doing?" Or like you were at, and I was like, "Oh, this is like this thing we're working on." And she was like, "How about you guys bring it to Fayetteville?" And so we're like, "Yeah, that'd be ideal."
That's,
Yeah.
that's
Like-
why it's cool.
Yeah.
You
Like,
got
there's-
almost every other kind of car thing.
Yeah, and like the main, like just like logistically speaking, like you've got the square, the hotel is right next to it, the main event is right on the square. You've got bars and restaurants. Like we purposely don't have like food trucks because
There's so much food.
there's so much food already there, and
Yeah.
if I was a business owner on the square, it'd be kind of irked that I have to
Right.
close down twice a month or more.
Yeah, because they're out there with food trucks
Yeah.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
so like, and that was a big thing. Like we had a lot of local businesses in that area, like, give us praise because they like the crowd. They like the
That's
people
what they're looking
who
for.
are there. And it's like, Bikes and Blues was a big weekend for everybody,
But
good
it's
or
still,
bad.
but it's still mainly up in Rogers now.
Yeah.
It's not Fayetteville like it used to be.
Yeah.
Well,
But
but
you wouldn't have been able to do it back in the day.
No.
Oh my
No.
gosh.
But I think that Fayetteville, like you were about to touch on that, is that like from a city perspective, that revenue was not only needed but expected. Every year, people were kind of like looking at that block of the calendar as something they needed to prepare for.
In
And then
season.
when Bikes Blues just left, it's like
Some
good.
people
It
were
was
some
good and
people
bad.
liked
It
it,
was
but
good
some
and bad
didn't.
that it left. But then it also left it was like an open opportunity for something else to come in, and it seemed like you guys just kind of like the right place, right time.
Yeah. It was kind of right place, right time. Because when I met with the city, they were like, "Well, when do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Definitely not in July." And they're like, "How about Bikes and Blues weekend?" They're like,
And
it's
you're like,
it's open now." So I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, historically
it's
it's got
around, but
it's got
open.
great weather. You don't really have to worry
Well,
too much."
that was their main motivation. I'm sure it was weather. Because
That and there's no football game.
That's what I was going to ask too.
Yeah.
There's no football game on the Bikes Blues.
That
before.
period.
Yeah.
And there's no football game on our weekend either.
For sure. That's what I
Right.
figured.
Well,
They're not going to ask you in if they've got football to take care of the revenue.
I think
Yeah.
the funny part is like as like a Northwest Arkansas local, we're all conditioned to call it Bikes Blues Barbecue Weekend
Yeah.
because it was just that for so long, and like
You
props to
can't-
those
yeah,
guys for getting that.
It's not like
you know?
you don't hear rumbles all day,
Oh, yeah.
every day,
starting to
everywhere
hear
in
'em.
Northwest Arkansas.
You're
what's
just
going
hearing
down.
different engines now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
different
mean, dude,
different 8 cylinders.
well, like, yeah, you were at Underground last
Yeah.
year. Like,
I didn't-
we forewarned the police because we wanted their support on it. Like, hey, like this is gonna be huge. We want you guys here to like, so we can help maintain it all, and we don't want you guys to get mad at us when they, there's a ton of people. They're just like, yeah, whatever, man.
They're used to it.
It'll be fine. It's just a little car show.
That's
we gridlocked the city all the way back, like past like natural. What was it? The natural grocers, not natural grocers, but the Ozark.
Ozark. Yeah.
Ozark Natural
yeah.
Foods.
Natural foods.
Yep.
O&F. And we like gridlocked beyond that. And like I'm out there in front of this, like waving
Just
little
trying
batons,
to
just like,
get traffic going.
yeah, you go here, and there's like random moms and stuff, and I'm like, you here for the car show? And they're like, no, I'm just trying to go home. I'm like,
Would you like to go to a
I'm
car
like, well,
show?
keep on going.
That's like
Keep
me. I
on
get
going.
caught up in that. Bikes Blues used to. Remember, Brandon? They would come all the way down, go down Dixon. Like,
Oh, they would.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They would come from the Veterans Hospital. And it'd be locked up from.
Oh yeah,
jeez.
Yeah.
yeah. I
But-
lived in that area for years.
Yeah.
and it was just like, I'm like, well, good thing I can just walk to work.
It's just funny. Sometimes you're local. You think you know the local, and then you're like, oh, I forgot about this.
Bikes
and
Blues
you're
and
stuck,
barbecue
dude. You're
weekend.
stuck.
yeah,
But yeah, I bet that, and this is just bad on them, but like they probably just didn't believe you.
no, they didn't.
They just didn't believe.
And
that,
like we resolved it with them, because like we, including myself, me and like 5 of my staff members like went and like alleviated a lot of the traffic,
right.
especially around the square. And we're like, hey man, you guys have the same problem we do, so like let's work together and not get mad at
Well,
each other.
yeah, like admitting to them like your problem is our problem, so
Yeah.
like we're here to help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think like that's a lot of planning for this year, is making sure like everybody's on board, knows what's going on. Everyone saw last year's growth, and it's like, it's only going to get bigger. So like, let's nip it in the bud.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you know what, too? The cops moved out of that building next to the parking garage. They're
Oh
gone.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There were
gone.
kids like an hour and a half beforehand, before underground, like parking just like everywhere.
Just like kind of like holding a spot.
And then like
You couldn't even get there quick
the
enough to
whole
control it.
parking deck was filled in 25 minutes. And so we're like, sorry man, like you can come in and like hang out, we just can't
Can't
park
hold
your
any more
car.
cars.
Yeah.
So like all of that area was just like cool cars everywhere.
That's amazing. And I love the aspect that it was like some of it was like initiated by y'all, but then there was like this whole other subset of just other people's cars that are just blending into the mix of
Yeah.
things.
That's how it's supposed to work.
That's
though.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well, it's
how
cool
you know
because
you're
like the
pulling
way like
grassroots stuff up.
Mhm.
underground started, like we weren't even really planning on doing it. Like the first thing that happened, we were like, man, we've got all these people from out of state and stuff and out of town coming in. Like it'd be cool to get, these 60 guys and girls that are like on the routes to come. Like we can hang out in the parking deck because we already have it rented out.
Yeah, we have the whole thing.
And then like last minute, we're like, yeah, man, let's just call it a cool meet thing. And, made the branding, posted it up one day before the event, and it was packed out.
Like, we're going to hang out.
If anything, it was literally like one half of the event. Like
yeah.
it was easily
And
one
like,
half
and
of
it
the
was
event.
awesome because like
Yeah.
it just worked out so much in our favor, because like it really sets the tone for how much fun you're gonna have that whole weekend.
Yeah.
Because like all our vendors show up, they have open setup time from like 9 to 5. So they come in normally, as a vendor, like normally you show up and you have like no time to set up and you're rushing, and then you have to work, or like everything gets closed down and you have nothing else to do. And
Yeah.
like, but we're like, let's just do something fun.
Yeah.
And so last year, like when we did it, like I remember like my friend Danger Dan came from California, not last year but the year before, and then my friends from Grip Royal came, and they were like at underground, like within the first 5 minutes. Like I was 45 minutes late because I was, I had special guests and stuff, and like running around making sure everything was okay, and because we weren't expecting it to be big. And like 15 minutes in, they're like, hey man, there's like no room in here.
What do we
So,
do now?
like, so I was like, hey, just clear out some spots like for like me and Caleb and like the Grip Roll guys and Dan, and we all roll up and park. And I had like just installed like an underglow kit on my car, and Dan and Scott are all walking around and stuff, and they're like, what is this?
What'd you do?
Like, and all we had was like one level with like a few little lights that my little brother brought and like some sound. And so we're like, that was like, and I like a realization like, this is really, really cool. Next year we should expand on this and like really put in a lot of effort to make it cool. And so like Brandon came on
The
board.
uplighting made the mood in
And
there.
yeah,
man. It
so
was
we're like, yeah,
sick.
instead of just one level, let's do all 5 levels.
It was sick.
And we also opened it up to some sponsors and stuff, so like they got their own little like levels, and so that made it cool. So we had all these like banners in there and all the lighting and all the sound. It was just like, it was just
It was huge.
absolutely nuts.
It was-
I
it was
gotta say,
huge.
people that
Yeah.
want to come to something like that, I know me personally too. I love to just come. It's kind of like at the football stadium. I want to walk the whole thing. I want to see everybody's stuff. I want to look at everything. It's like a real car show. Like you get to walk all up in these levels and see different stuff. I think that's what it's all about.
And also too, it was kind of cool that like this was totally. I don't think it was intentional. It just kind of happened naturally that there was all these like kind of like crews, like cliques. They were kind of like, huddled up in different areas, and you can kind of just like see these like certain sets of people that were just kind of like had their corner and were kind of like doing their thing. And it was just kind of cool to like see like this, I don't know, it had so much of that vibe of like a Japanese like underground car show that it was that. There wasn't any. I really want to like, as somebody that experienced it myself, and to other people that are going to come, it was so authentic. Like that was the biggest thing to see and experience, was like, this isn't fake. This isn't like, we're faking this underground car scene thing. It's like, no, it is that, and it's that on steroids.
Yeah, you put out a call and pack the house, man. That's rad.
I mean, like, because all the local guys that didn't come to it the year before saw all the photos, and it was such a huge success that there was a knockoff version that showed up. I love it. Using footage from that first year.
Oh, I love it.
That they took. And I didn't even know who was doing, like, no harm, no foul, like, whatever. I just had to let the city know that, like, hey, this isn't us.
Right. This is us. That's something.
Yeah. And that's, but, like, it was just such a fun thing. Like, because growing up, like, being all over the internet, being a nerd, and, like, seeing all these, like, articles and, like, people writing about, like, cool car shows and stuff in Japan, and like the Daikoku events, which is just giant parking areas where they would just like go and meet up, and they'd be like, oh, it's RX-7's day, and like you go to the Daikoku PA and it's just like 400 of the coolest RX-7s you've ever seen in your life, and then it's like, cool, 8.6 day, like a month later,
right after
you've
it,
got
right,
like 8.6 day, cool. Or like, and then you have like March 2nd, March 3rd, March 4th, R32, R33, R34, all the skylines, like all would come and show up on these things. And so it's like just seeing that kind of stuff and being inspired by all of that, like really like further motivated me to like really push the underground, because like it's just fun, like, and it's just free and open to the people. Like
that's what I'm saying. There's no cost. You get to look at all this rad stuff, man.
Yeah, that's what people really need to know, is that it is free.
The whole event is free
to come to
you can buy some stuff, but it's
general
free.
Admission.
Yeah. Which like we decided to pop up a tent to sell some merch, just like, hey, maybe we'll sell a few T-shirts because we bought it.
And didn't you guys sell out?
We sold,
or like very much sell out.
About 90% of our merch was sold out that night. So like the main event didn't really have anything.
Oh, we sold more merch than I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect.
Gnarkansas, it was great.
You opened the doors and people just started coming and buying stuff.
Yeah,
like, whoa.
And that was
pretty rad.
That was what we were like talking about. Literally the entire time we were there, is like how many people walked up to us and said, oh man, I used to skate. Like the whole
all day,
every encounter was that.
Yeah, it's cool as shit.
It was great.
Man. Like,
it was great.
What's awesome is like hearing people's like reactions to the event, and because they're like authentic, genuine reactions. They're like, the first one we did, was great, but like I, being the event coordinator, I'm like, oh, we could improve on this and this and this. But these people are like, this is the best event I've ever been to in my life. Like, I can't wait to come back next year. And this and this. And I think part of it is just, we do our part to give them so much. Like, make sure they have a good time. Make sure, like, everything's accessible. Like, hotel room, boom, here's a link. Underground, like, let's create, essentially just put ourselves in their shoes. Like, what kind of event would I want to be at? And, like, what kind of experience would I want to have? And oftentimes, like, there are, like, price barriers for a lot of, like, car events. And it's like, let's just X-nay that.
Right.
And, like, just giving everybody all sorts of stuff for free. And also, like, for the city as well, like, a big thing is, like, if you're just a random Fayetteville person strolling around with your kid or something, on a Saturday, and all of a sudden you see like the entire square is blocked off with like 100 plus crazy Japanese cars, and like, what the hell's going on?
I'm going to check.
And
it
then
out.
the fact that you get to go check it out, and nobody's like stopping you and like, hey, $5 or $20.
Mhm.
It's just like, yeah, come check it out.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, "Oh, I'm going to take my kids. Why not?"
Yeah.
So I'm saying that whole get out, go walk, go check it out. It's just, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
That's Fayetteville for you too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I miss old Block Street, Block Party, and
Block
stuff.
Street, Block Party,
and,
yeah.
that was like a big.
They started
influence.
doing a new thing like the little beer fest on Dixon because you can drink down there in a bunch.
Yeah,
of
the
ways.
Aura and stuff.
And so people are out there hawking their stuff there too. I think I bought some like fresh honey out there, local honey.
There you go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's a perfect segue into like my point about being a vendor there, because like I want to like say this to like people who are like potentially maybe want to be a vendor at this. You know, you can go to the website to get that stuff.
We haven't released the vendor applications yet, but they will be coming out soon. It's just one of those things. We're like 6 months out.
Yeah, it's not
roughly.
time.
It's just too much.
Right.
What happens if you get too many requests to park in the parking garage?
I mean, it's first come, first served.
Well, it's
Okay.
and
I didn't know if you were going to be able to get to that point where you're like, okay, we gotta save spots or.
It fills up. I mean,
it's
like
gonna fill up quick.
It fills up immediately.
It's like
Yeah,
you
it fills
say,
up
you got
immediately.
people out there waiting early. Like, dang, that's awesome though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, so my point about the vendors was that it was a great opportunity, because when people come to an event where they don't have to pay to be there, they're more likely to buy something from a vendor.
I think
Yeah.
so.
And like,
Yeah.
and it's something that's very like overlooked by people who involve themselves in live events.
Yeah.
I'm going to be at this space, but how willing are people to open their wallets to purchase product?
Yeah.
And so like, you know, creating that environment, and especially for stuff that's kind of, I mean, if you have a brand that's any kind of close to this and you want to be involved in this is an event to be at. I mean, I will say that, because
Yeah, I mean, like, really, like, with the first beta test in Eureka, that was the first event that I vended at with my brand, Yankee Special.
yeah.
And, I mean, I showed up late, got some stuff set up, and I look up, and there is a line from my table across the entire parking lot, and people are like, I don't know what this is, but this looks cool,
dude,
and I want to buy something. And I was like, okay, this is rad. And then finally my friend Jake shows up, and so we're just like slinging t-shirts, and we're just like for like an hour and a half before it got shut down because of
Looking
the
at
double,
each other like,
because
what
the
the
double
heck?
booking.
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
whoa, this is wild. And then the last year, well, not last year, but the year before, like when we did the first one in Fayetteville, you know, I set up outside, and I was like, yeah, we'll see how this goes. Same thing, just like a crazy line. It rained. Thank God I had like rain jackets. Sold out of my rain jackets immediately. So that was great. And it was just cool seeing like it's car enthusiasts supporting other car enthusiasts.
Sure.
Because like a lot of them saw me, you know, on the routes or whatever, you know, coordinating stuff. And so they're like, oh, he's part of the event or not part of the event. We don't really know, because I was very vague about it.
Yeah, but generally speaking, they were just supporting the brand.
Yeah, they're just like
yeah.
the brand. It fits their aesthetic, you know.
Well, dude, and then, you know, you didn't get to it, but the last year, it was a spectacle to see literally the entire town center double line from your tent all the way to out the room. It was like out of the room straight to your tent. And I was just like looking at all the other vendors on your side.
I thought you had the beer. That's where everybody's going to get beer.
That's just where the goods are at. But yeah, it was really like impressive to see like the support that people were, you know, given like live like that.
Yeah, no, it's
very cool.
It's wild. It's always like breathtaking to see. And like, you know, the brand's only a few years old now, and watching it grow as much as it has, and like getting text messages from friends of mine across the country, and like at a Formula D event in the middle of nowhere, you know, they're like in like St. Louis or something. They're like, hey man, your shirt.
Your
I'm like,
shirt.
that's
Tagging
awesome.
you.
Did it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, it's just the coolest thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Seeing that.
Car
Like, one of
culture's
my
alive and well.
Yeah.
favorite ones I got was a friend of mine from Connecticut was at a Grid Life on like South Carolina or something, and he sends me a photo, and right after, Dan sends me a photo. It's almost the exact same photo. It's a photo of Dan and Brandon McDowell both wearing the exact same shirt of mine at the same event.
At a meetup.
That's great. That's great.
That Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each
Yeah.
They're pointing at each other. Yeah.
And then they go fishing together, and it was
Yeah.
the best.
That's
Super
great.
wholesome.
That's great. Well, yeah, like you know, when you put out something that actually like resonates with inside of a culture, like I think that we can attest to it. Gnarkansas has done a very similar thing in our thing in our circle where we've seen like, you know, the spread of the brand and the support and everything. So it's really cool that even that we're doing stuff like that locally that people can back. You know, like I think that's something that I imagine I think you were talking something about this, about people not knowing or realizing that it was from Arkansas. Like the brand was from Arkansas.
Oh yeah, I get constant people are like, "Yo, man, I thought you were in like California
or in Japan."
or in Japan. Like I've had dudes that lived in Japan were like, "Where did this come from?" I'm like, my brain. And they're like, "You didn't go to Japan?" It's like, "No, I've never been to Japan in my life."
You're
want to.
You're not Japanese.
They see the brand, they're like, oh, "You look like you're around the corner."
Yeah.
Like because you've and it's because you've did like the design concept. You've just like nailed so much of like the aesthetic that you're trying to hit with the brand. I think.
And it's like, I mean, it's purely a passion project. Like, you know, I have an art career, you know, and I have a defined art style for that. I grew up being obsessed with cars. Found out about JDM when I was like 13, and it was like the perfect puzzle piece that fit into my obsession with cars and creativity.
Right.
And I found Initial D
And
in
I found Initial D.
2002, 2003. And I was like, that's it. Like,
This is it.
This is the defining character trait of mine now.
Right.
Like, this is what my entire life is going to revolve around.
Yeah,
And
I get it.
So when I finally released Yankee, it was like just immediately got absorbed by like the drift community and stuff. They're just like, this guy's into it. Like, he knows what's going on. And like, I've been obsessed with drifting for 20 years, but never like did it because it's so damn expensive.
Yeah. You're always breaking stuff, right?
Yeah, you're always breaking stuff. It's just, you know, and then you know, I found out about drifting in its infancy, in the States at least. And so like being on the forefront of that, and I was like, man, this is super rad. But like, I moved up here and I was like, I can either have a cool car and no money, or I can have an art career and no money. So I decided to go for the latter and build an art career instead, which has been the best culmination of everything. Like,
say long term, that was
long term is ideal. You know, it forced me into screen printing, which I was already like heading into anyways, because my brothers and I had passion for apparel. And so now like Yankee is like that perfect storm of like all my artistic experience mixed with my passion for cars, and then I can execute it with my passion for screen printing.
It's nice when
trifecta.
When all of your passions and skills can go to one thing. Like that's where you get something that's like.
And I think from
important.
like a fan standpoint too, I get a lot of people that are like super stoked when I actually explain to them like, yeah, I drew this and printed it.
Yeah.
So they're like, this came from the source.
It couldn't be more your brand.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people now that just like call me Yankee.
Oh,
like
that's
just
what
like
you
just
get.
like it happened like it happened with the artist name, like, you know, Tiger Sasha.
Oh yeah.
Which spawns from like my old punk band that I used to have with my brother.
Uh-huh.
And there's just an accident. I was like, people just started calling me Tiger Sasha, so I was like, yeah, I'll just go with that. And
I mean that's how I think I first knew you as Tiger.
Yeah, everyone's like, hey, Tiger. I'm like, no, my name's Sasha.
My name's not Tiger.
And
that's pretty funny.
And yeah, the same thing with Yankee now. People are like, oh, hey, Yankee.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's up?
That's funny when you embrace it
you'll
much.
turn and look, and when they say Yankee, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah. It's
and who
fun.
else is going to turn and look at that?
Yeah.
When they say it.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
But yeah, it's been like one hell of a roller coaster. You know, it's been so much fun. It's been so awesome. Like, kind of re-immersing myself in the car community and like meeting an insanely high amount of awesome people. Like, just especially with like drifting, it just like feels like I'm home with all the drift people and stuff. And I'm like, you know, finally getting to do what I've wanted to do for so long. And I'm just excited to go wreck my car. And
What was the punk band name?
Tiger Style.
Tiger Style.
There you go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother and I, you know, we grew up outside of Memphis, going to Memphis hardcore shows all the time. And,
Yeah, I could see that.
you know, Jonesboro hardcore shows, you know, 870 represent.
There you go.
And one day my brother was just like, hey, man, you wanna be in a band together? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. Why not? And he's like, I was like, who's in it? He's like, oh, you know, Julian and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, that's weird. You know, Julian's a bassist. I'm a bassist. He's like, yeah, Julian's going to play guitar, though. And Julian's never played guitar in his life.
Sounds like a punk band.
And it worked out brilliantly.
There you go.
And it was so much fun. It was such an experimental, like, project. You know, my brother and I are big, like, hip-hop heads and love Wu-Tang. That's where the name comes from.
Right.
And so we're like, yeah, let's just kind of mix all this dumb stuff together. And our first EP is actually still on the internet.
Oh, nice.
It's on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp. Yeah.
And
Yeah, Bandcamp.
yeah, we recorded it like old school, like in our friend's mom's house. And, you know, we're like, my brother and I were like 20. I was 21 at the time when we launched the band. And we're just like, yeah, let's just have fun. And like, it was all themed half the time.
So
like,
that's fun too. Yeah. Totally.
yeah, like we would make like fake songs for the theme. Like our first EP is like has random things from the movie Akira, like all throughout the whole EP.
Oh, right. Nice.
Themed.
And, yeah,
Nice.
just super themed. And like we wrote a song for Arizona Green Tea because we just liked Arizona Green Tea.
Right.
And we're like, we need to
Oh,
sing
dude.
along.
I used to drink a lot
You
of that
know.
stuff.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I think, dude, another parallel. Skateboarders in Arizona.
Yeah.
Boy.
Like, yeah, we had, you know, everything from like, you know, super thrashy songs. We had one song that was called Skate Paint Fuck Shit Up.
Nice.
You know, because my brother's super into skating and, you know, our other band members were into skating. So we're like, yeah, let's just like have fun. Like the whole point of the band was just to have fun.
Right.
And that's something I learned like that I took into like TougeCon and stuff. Learning was like, if you're on stage and you're having a good time, everyone else is going to have a good time.
It's pretty reflective.
Yeah, because it's no fun. Like, I love metal music and stuff, but like when you go to a metal show and everyone's just like,
The
you can't tell. It's like, is this
nodders,
a good time or not?
are we
Like,
having a good
Gotta
time?
get in the middle, huh?
Yeah.
You're right. All those dudes on the outside.
Yeah.
Don't bump me.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
their elbows out. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a place for it. I love, you know,
Yeah.
mosh pits and all that stuff. It's great. But yeah, it's been awesome, like being able to like, yeah, put together all of my interests into kind of one cohesive thing.
Yeah.
And through that, like a lot of people have learned, because I did keep a very strong like separation between Tiger Sasha and
Yeah,
Yankee.
like your artwork styling
Yeah.
of Tiger Sasha and Yankee Special, because I think that if and you know, I encourage anybody to go check out what's the website
For
for Yankee
Yankee Special.
YankeeSpecial.com.
Mm-hmm.
So the aesthetic that you carry with it is like a specific like what is there a word for that style, or like is it just something that comes from you? Or
It's a mix of like, you know, rest in peace, Akira Toriyama, but like he was a huge inspiration. You know, his art style, especially like old Dragon Ball stuff.
yeah.
And a big inspiration was this weird manga that a lot of people don't know about that exists. It's called Shakotan Boogie.
Okay.
And I found out about it when I was like 18 on the internet through some super nerd who had like his own blog.
Sure.
And I was like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. COVID hit. I'm like working a bunch. And I was like, you know what? I want to order this. You know, I just randomly went on eBay. And I was like, let me see if like there's a manga collection of Shakotan Boogie.
Uh-huh.
Some dude in Japan had the entire 36 volume
Dang.
set for like $220. And I was like,
That's pretty chill.
Buy now.
Buy now.
By now. And
Watching it all.
It's like COVID, like right at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so like I'm talking to this guy in Japan, we're both using translators.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I sent it, but Japanese post is being super and like so like 3 months goes by. And I'm like, I don't know if I lost $200. Like, whatever.
You don't even
I
know
lost
if
$200.
it's yours.
So like,
yeah.
I just wanted this manga. And like 4 or 5 months later, like it finally shows up. And it was so long that like eBay, after a certain amount of time, eBay just like deletes it. And like you can't do anything. Because eBay kind of even asked me, was like, do you want to claim this? I'm like, no, I'm not going to like
I don't know.
Send a claim. Because like I'm pretty sure he sent it out. It was the most beautifully packaged box I've ever seen. Like everything, dude, these books were pristine.
That is so refreshing.
And I was like, man, I wish I could find that ad so I could like message him.
Right.
And I never
like thank him.
Yeah, like I'm just like, oh my God, thank you so much for like sending this and like
and the way you packaged it with care and
everything,
like all that.
And
that
so like
stuff,
I still have that, like that's a huge inspiration. I was just like, it is the like manga of just like wild boys in like 80s, early 90s Japan, and all Bosozoku style and all sorts of stuff, and like the animation style was just so cool. So I was like, yeah, that's a huge inspiration. And same thing with the character. Like the character is a Tengu, which is a Japanese yokai.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, let's, my friend and I came up with the idea forever ago. We're like, yeah, let's do a Tengu with a pompadour. Because we're like, we're into greasers. Like Bosozoku stuff is all greaser, Americana inspired stuff. So I was like, yeah, this is just a big like double entendre.
It totally is. And it's funny because it kind of speaks to the American Japanese relationship of how like we love their stuff and they love our stuff.
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
It's so cool.
And then it just gets illustrated by a weird little Russian immigrant.
Perfect. See, this couldn't be more of a Kill Bill story.
I know, man,
I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
No, it's true though. Always trying to get something from them and.
Dude. Stuff. I mean, I can think of like a million different things that is Japan centric that like I'm like I love, and.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like they're there's a lot of like similar parallels like with their Bosozoku culture with all the motorcycles and stuff. It's the exact, it's their answer to what Hell's Angels is.
That's
right.
Because they both stemmed from the war.
Right. Yeah.
And like they were just like they were all like
looking for that action, man.
Well, it wasn't they were looking for action. They were in Japan, the Bosozoku, they were the suicide bombers. That's who they were. And whenever they didn't have to go on that mission, they were like, well, we already thought we were dead.
What do we do now?
So they rode their motorcycles as if they were already dead. So they're just like absolutely wild. Yeah. And like Hell's Angels was pretty much the same thing. They're all like,
they didn't really give
pilots
a shit.
And stuff.
And
the same thing with the Bosozoku.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, we're just gonna rev. And like, Japan was a broken country back then.
For sure.
And like they would do street races. Like they would have the cars, like half a mile in front. They have another car about a mile back, like just rows of them, and then like just hordes of motorcyclists doing like crazy, going side to side, like and then block, and they were perfectly spaced out to block any side roads, and they'd get on the highway and blockade so that cops couldn't interfere when they would have drag races between gangs.
Oh.
So they would drag race in between the two cars in the front and rear with all the motorcycles like blocking everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Dang.
It's just absolutely nuts, man.
I can think of a bunch of stuff I'd love to import. Isn't there some kind of thing too where they have to like change out their motor after so many miles and like
they had
something,
so
that's why we can get their motors over here after so many miles.
Yeah, they're all like low mileage motors back in the day.
Yeah.
And
well, they didn't drive very far.
I know.
Like in America, we're driving like across the country.
Yeah,
well, it was under 100,000, I think.
It was 100,000 kilometers.
Yeah, you have to get rid of it now.
And most of the time it was like 60K kilometers. So you're talking like 30,000 miles on a motor.
Yeah.
A lot of it I think was like a tax incentive.
It was.
And
instead of rebuilding it, you just got a new one. That's part. I think
You
was
just
part of the
go and
tax.
trade in your car and get a new one, and
Yeah.
so they just have all these because like the used car market, partially like I guess in like culturally like you don't really buy used cars or used
Right.
things,
There. That's right.
and so they're just like just turn it up, and then like America opened the floodgates. It's like hey, you can import anything that's 25 years or older,
Yeah.
and so it's like what? So the price
Oh, wow.
of all the
Yeah.
Japanese cars skyrocketed.
For sure, because you could get them if they're old enough.
Yeah, like well, I mean, like someone like me was like, who's dreamt of owning an R32 GTR since I was like
that's-
14.
Yeah, dude.
That's old enough.
I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I can get one as an adult, and
Yeah.
nope, not anymore. Now it's too expensive.
Now the
Now
it's
the market,
the pricing.
demand,
Yeah,
and so the
exactly.
pricing's really
Yeah.
high.
Like I got my 240. It's my fourth or fifth one. Like I bought it right before the boom,
Oh, dude.
so I got it for like $1,500. You know.
The damn boom. The boom shot everything.
Yeah,
Dude,
it
Well,
did,
it's
it
funny
did,
because like
yeah.
now like I'm priced out of my own passion. Like my favorite car is the 240,
Sure.
and like if I were to try and get into that again, there's no way in hell I could afford it.
I know it.
Yeah.
I can't spend 20 grand on a 30-year-old car.
I know it.
It's
know it,
interesting.
Used car market. If you've got some kind of a decent car that's a little out of the ordinary, it's like Kelly Blue Book's not a good representation of
No.
how much it's worth
No.
anymore.
No, I mean like
Not
dude,
at
just like
all.
trying to buy a truck or
Yeah.
anything. It's like good luck. Like this
Yep.
2002 Chevy is going to be $18,000.
Yeah, go find you a 2010 like 4Runner. Like,
Oh,
damn,
dude.
dude, I could have got a new one for
Oh,
not
dude.
much more.
My 2014 Tacoma, like people like often request if they can like purchase it.
And,
you know?
and the Blue Book
yeah.
value looks like ass.
Oh,
too,
dude, totally.
Like,
but I could
what?
get way more
Yeah.
buying, like selling
Yeah.
privately. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
It's like you used to
Yeah.
be able to just like you could pick up a little Volkswagen or a little Toyota or something easy,
But
but
see,
now it's like
But you know what's funny is like I feel like car enthusiast culture is really kind of doing the effect that was kind of always promised, was that we're gonna make these things valuable.
Yeah, don't throw 'em away.
You wait and see, people
Yeah.
out there.
don't throw them away or junk them
Yeah.
because we'll redo them. We'll work
Yeah.
on them.
And if you look at any car, I mean, like it really any automotive subculture, whether it be like classic cars, Volkswagens, old and new, anything that kind of has an enthusiast
Ever
thing
had it, yeah.
attached to it,
Yeah.
those cars are just
Oh yeah.
up.
They're never
right
going
now.
to die.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I think
crazy.
I think
Yeah.
that's part of the big rejection of some electric cars right now.
Mhm.
Like they really put those on the market. Y'all buy these, and we're like,
Yeah.
I'd rather work on this and have this driver from.
Well, too, it's like
older
the electric car stuff. It's like, we're enthusiasts. Like we're not just like this isn't just a means of transportation. So it's like there's random things. Like I personally like if I don't drive a stick shift car,
I feel you.
I'm just like I hate this. Like because that small little piece of the puzzle.
People don't
like,
understand how
makes-
rad that is.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
my daily commute so enjoyable.
Well, and there's something about it that you're like connected to it. It's like
You're more driving the
there's-
machine.
Yeah.
I mean, you
yeah.
just are. You're operating a machine. It's kind of like working a backhoe and some fish.
Yeah.
sure.
Like, it's cool. It feels
Yeah.
good.
But it also has like
the feedback's better.
Yeah, and
The control.
and gasoline engine. I'm sorry, like the combustion engine. I want to be more specific here. A combustion engine feels like it has like a soul to it,
Yeah.
where and I mean as somebody who has a car that's down right now, it's like my car is sick,
Yeah.
and I need to like make it better so that it can heartbeat. Like
Yeah.
so the heart can beat.
Exactly.
It's
and-
part of your family.
And you don't. An electric car. I've driven a Tesla, and it's like it goes and it's amazing. Like the sensation when it hits, you're just like it's foreign. It feels foreign, but it feels fake. Like
It's like a video
It feels artificial.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
driving a Tesla's like driving a video game.
Totally.
Is there any Tesla drifters
I
No.
think
that you can think of?
No, you got to think about like
Because that's a really heavy car.
yeah, like weight's a big concern, but also it's like yeah, you could potentially drift a Tesla if
Probably.
you do it. especially if it's 2-motor rear-wheel drive.
And like,
But the problem is, it's like, yeah, you've got 400 wheel horsepower, but it'll last, I don't know, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's like
because
all
what the problem is, like
yeah.
with drifting is like you want seat time. Like
right. I
all
want to
the
be behind
fun
the wheel.
is like being in
driving.
because like the actual act of drifting, like you're doing for 30 seconds to a minute, like even on the super high level professional like stage,
Right.
it's like, yeah, that's a 1200 horsepower car in FD for like going balls to the wall for 45 seconds.
Right.
But it's like in a Tesla, it's like you can't just quick change a battery.
Right. No.
Oh,
Like-
right. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You
Good
can't-
point.
You would have to take it off, charge it for however long, which
Exactly.
is which
So
is
it's
something
like-
weird to me.
It's like I just
foreign.
spent a whole day to go have 4 minutes of fun, and then it's like, whereas like if in a normal car, it's like, oh yeah, well, I ran out of gas.
Sure.
Put more gas in it.
I've been reading about the people trying to take trucks across America like we've always done as Americans. We've driven across,
Mm-hmm.
and they get screwed. There's things that are broke down. They who wants to wait 3 hours to charge or even an hour? That's really weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's not efficient.
Yeah.
And certain people like can't go overland or off road as much. If you go deep, you couldn't go like out to Colorado and go up somewhere and be gone for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can always, like with a combustion engine, you always have some kind of reserve energy.
Mm-hmm.
You can just grab a jug or whatever.
And it's more readily available, and it takes me 2 minutes to fill up tops
yeah,
or put it in a jug and take back.
exactly. Whereas like a battery, it's like, solar is not anywhere where it needs to be to.
No.
No, it's not. I mean, it sucks, but if someday we maybe get to that point. But
Yeah, I'm just not into.
no, I was thinking
Electric
about your
cars.
event too. Like if you put a bunch of electric cars in that place, it'd be half of what you could get in there because they weigh twice as much.
Well, there's.
I recently read that they're worse for the environment because they eat up so much tire and brakes, and we actually don't eat up as much. And plus, most of us have a tailpipe with emissions things on it,
Yeah.
and they blow through all that stuff massively.
Right.
Well,
And
it's
it
just the
doesn't
batteries.
It doesn't. Yeah, and it doesn't equal out. Yeah, and then there's nowhere for it to go when it's time to get rid of it. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
what are we doing with that? We don't know.
Yeah, they're not built to last. There's no longevity to them.
Right.
Yeah.
My biggest.
I always thought it was a niche market anyways. Like, oh, it's cool if you want one. It's cool. Like you said,
Sure.
poking around town, it's fine. But
No. Yeah. Like
you're not gonna do old Route 66 with the family on it. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if you don't leave your metropolitan area,
it's great.
That's fine.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. From a practicality standpoint, in like transportation, it makes a lot of sense.
You know what scares me though? There's so many people that's never had that kind of horsepower underneath their foot.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're just driving. I've seen some people driving stupid.
oh
It's-
yeah,
It's like when Mustangs got.
Yeah, everybody- every kid-
when every teenager had a Mustang.
you mean since the dawn of time?
Yeah. Since. No, I'm pretty sure it
Since
was like
Mustang-
96.
Since
The
Mustang,
V6
Somewhere
out,
around
baby.
96 is when it really started getting bad.
Oh
you know?
yeah,
It's still bad, but it started when they come back with that new, and they've done it. ever
Telling you,
since,
dude.
man.
Those, yeah.
Worse than the Camaro.
all those cars. I feel like every one of those, if it's a convertible, it's wrecked. Like
Oh,
it's like it's been wrecked or it's ragged out
Oh, yeah.
to some degree, some heavy degree. But yeah, man, my biggest one of the complaints I want to talk about electric cars is like the sound, like
There's-
lack of sound.
No, they got all that fake shit now.
Yeah,
you
it's
can
so
put you
stupid.
can buy an
It's so
aftermarket kit and put a
stupid.
speaker underneath your thing, and then you can go through different things.
Oh,
I want it to sound like a Lambo.
they-
I want it like
There's no, they
Dude.
have mods where they like
They
make
do.
it sound like a spaceship, like
Yeah.
as it's driving. Like,
I just think it's weird to
dude.
have a fake exhaust. Is that not? That's weird.
yeah. I
Yeah.
understand. Like if you want your like Tesla to sound like a TIE fighter, that's cool.
That's
It's-
funny. Yeah, I get
It's
it.
cool for like a party trick,
I saw
Yeah.
somebody
You
doing
know?
like a zombies while he's backing up on one of those. That's fine. I'm like you.
but
Don't make it sound like you're coming down the street in like.
What cracks me? Have you been to a car show with Tesla people? Oh man,
I have never.
I'd
like,
love to
you
hear.
know,
I'd love to hear him talk. Like,
good-
what's
good-
that? What's that
good, you know,
conversation
it's
Is there a
like?
cool,
South
like-
Park episode like about?
No, like-
sounds like a South Park episode.
like enthusiasts coming every
Sure.
Yeah,
aspect
right.
of it.
Yeah,
So
that's
like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it, but it's also like it's kind of comical to me just because I am such a gearhead.
Right.
But like watching Tesla owners interact with one another, it's like, hey, which package did you get? Oh, I got Plaid. I got this mint motor. Oh, that one comes in a 3 motor. It's like old Corvette guys, but like worse.
Fashion over
And then they're
function.
like,
Yeah.
and then they're like, check this out, and they have like almost like a Vegas motor, whatever the fuck it's called, with Tesla.
But it's
just like the doors are opening and closing, and it's playing epic music, and like I had a tent set up across from a whole slew of Teslas.
okay.
And they're just doing this like show off mode for like 4 hours. And I'm just like so tired of hearing this epic music, and it's like just the doors, the hatches like opening and closing.
Guys, I'm over
constantly,
it.
constantly showing
like,
us.
Cool. You drive a giant iPad.
But it's all, and everything that they're talking about is dealer install upgrades.
Well, it's just like it's not even that.
There's
but
not
it's
a lot of DIY to do on those.
It's like-
I know
Right,
there are
yeah.
some dudes that are taking them and doing stuff.
To
but
me, it's like talking about your phone.
Yeah.
It's dudes who like check out my phone with sick wheels on it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like my phone is so fast.
What memory card do you have in there?
Yeah, pretty much. It's
You're not
like
It's
joking
pretty.
about that.
It's kind of a joke.
Damn.
Yeah.
yeah, which I
Yeah.
mean, it's cool. Like whatever. Like they're fast. They're proven. and
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
but,
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
From like being a.
I would
old
totally drive
school-
one around town, but yeah. But I do like my gas.
I would
Yeah.
forget
car.
to charge it. 100%.
Like you forget to charge your phone.
I would get home.
You know?
Yeah. I forget
Yeah.
to charge my
Wake
phone
up the
all
next
damn
morning and be
time.
like, ah, damn it, I forgot to
Yeah,
charge.
on the whole day, I'm like, hold on, let me get 4 minutes of juice so I can keep it at 3%
All day. Yeah.
That's the
sounds
thing about some of the
exactly
people living
right.
in the city. They're like, oh yeah, you just get a home charger. Well, dude, you want me to get it? And I live in an apartment or a condo. There's no charger. What do you do?
Yeah.
You charge it at work or leave it at Walmart and walk down the street? Or
Yeah.
it's weird to me. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of the
Like,
investment too. Like
maybe
they don't talk about.
maybe it promotes like stopping for a minute and like that's probably like some marketing ploy. They're like stop and smell the roses while you wait for your battery to charge, but like have coffee,
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
lunch or something like that.
It's
I can see
kind of
something
weird
like
that as a
that.
society we're not used to that type of thing. Like I'd almost think if I lived down there, I might take public transportation. Like, can I just get to my damn job and work and come home?
Well, it's like, yeah, dude, like going to New York, like experiencing what actual public transport works like. I was like, hell yeah, why the fuck would I ever own a car
Yeah.
if I lived in New York City?
Because
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to pay for that parking too most of the time.
It's like,
Well, and it's hard to get around.
Yeah.
You're
Well, like,
spending
it's
most
tight.
of your time like just trying to get
stopping
to
and going, stopping
Yeah.
and
a
going.
spot.
It's brutal.
well, like, yeah, you can like look on Google in New York and be like, oh, I can get an Uber and it'll take me 28 minutes to get there.
Mhm.
Or I could take this subway and get there in 26 minutes
That's right.
and not have to wait on anything. And I could stop and grab a snack.
Right, and see the sights
Yeah.
because driving's nuts. Yeah.
It's just
It's not enjoyable.
No.
No. Not fun.
And I love walking through the city.
do
It's so
too.
much fun. And I like how like people are like, oh yeah, it's just down the road in the city. And it's like, no, that when they say it's just over there, it's like 8 blocks away.
Yeah.
9 blocks away. And it's like, yeah, everybody just walks their ass off.
Which is funny because if you think about like what like we offer here with like TougeCon and people coming here, it's like no, we have this like open landscape where
Yeah.
you can just drive and just keep driving and stop whenever you want,
Yeah.
and
Get out.
there's
and
no
look and-
traffic, and it's great.
Yeah, like you get to, and like a lot, like so many people that have come to the event have never been to Arkansas, nor did they ever think about coming to Arkansas.
Yep.
I love
And
that.
that was something
Yep.
like, Arkansas has its, pros and cons as
Sure.
every place. But I was traveling with the Grip Roll guys. We'd go to a bunch of shows and stuff. We'd be in Atlanta and random places. And we're just drinking beers one night and chit-chatting. And Scott stops me and goes, man, I have never met anyone in my life who is so gung-ho for the state that they live in. He's like, especially like Arkansas. Like, never in my life have I ever heard anyone being like, yeah, man, Arkansas fucking
Represent.
rules, dude.
Represent.
And he's like, why? Like, he's like, this is entertaining, but like, why do you like Arkansas so much? I was like, well, NWA especially is like, I grew up in NEA, and Northeast Arkansas sucks. If you still live there, sorry about it.
Sorry, guys.
But like, I hated growing up in Jonesboro.
Yeah.
And so when I moved to Fayetteville, it was originally going to be just a stepping stone. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But then like, I just fell in love with the area, and like, it has given me so many opportunities to pursue what I want to do. Like, if I was still in Jonesboro or somewhere else, like, I doubt I would have owned a clothing store or been an artist or had a screen shop or whatever, like, or fucking done an event like this. Like,
yeah.
For real.
like the community here is supportive. The landscape is beautiful. And so I was like, that's just kind of what I relayed. And part of it, like, is showcasing with TougeCon, like, my experience with Fayetteville. Like, this is how fun this area is. Like, I didn't go to school here. I never fucking even went to
Mhm.
school.
Me either.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
But I've been here a long
you
time.
know, a lot of
Mhm.
people just like, oh, Fayetteville is just a college town. You know,
Like,
U of A.
Yep.
It's like, no, there's actually a huge
There's
other
way more
personality
to it. Yeah.
They
yeah.
don't realize all the big corporations that are like make their home in Northwest Arkansas, and there's so many people coming and going here every year. New people come in, people go out, and so there's tons of small business here,
Yeah.
and that really drives an economy.
And it's got a good like community with like that supports.
Yeah, if you open
Small
a small
business.
business, you're most likely going to get support from or they're going to come down and check you out
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just I think it's a killer little area, and like being able to showcase it. I mean, we had people from 15 different states show up last year.
I always like telling
Like-
people we're in like the top 10 to like work, raise your kids, and live. And they're like,
I don't
what
ever
are you
tell
talking
them
about?
that.
What are you talking about? And I'm like, it's true. And then I don't know. It's just kind of funny because they're like, what do you mean this is there and that's there? And like just little things like when you even something like, you're like, oh, that place Crystal Bridges has got like millions of dollars of art in
Yeah.
there. And they're like,
Right.
what? And they think it's nothing. And then if they look it up, they're like, what the heck?
Yeah, no, this is a huge deal.
Well,
It's
and
just all the little things like that, they just don't realize
it's one of
it's
those.
hopping up here.
We're one of those places that has big city amenities without the big city feel.
Yeah.
So like you still get all of the things that you would basically be expecting in a metro area, but you're not dealing with traffic. You're not dealing with population issues like homelessness as much, or
Crime's not
crime
as bad.
crime in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all that being said, you end up having just a nicer place to
Yeah,
exist.
You're
Yeah.
like literally 20 minutes to an hour and a half away from God's country. You know,
Yeah.
the Buffalo, the National Forest is right there. There's so much stuff,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It just geographically is just in such a random location. Like it's so far away. Like I love this town, but man, having to travel for
It
work.
is so far away from
Oh my God.
everything. I know.
Everything, every single one of my routes for like anything I vend is like an extra 5 hours.
For sure.
Because you got to get off the hill or get up somewhere else.
Yeah,
before you start
I have
your
to get to
journey.
Memphis first, and then Memphis is the gateway to
To other
everywhere else.
places.
There
Yeah.
it goes out.
And it's
yeah.
like Memphis is 5 hours from us.
Yeah,
That's right.
easily.
Yep.
And it used to be worse.
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So you said so we're pre-taping this is airing tomorrow because you are going to Atlanta.
Yes.
What's going on in Atlanta?
Import Alliance.
Okay.
Yes, their
What's
spring
that
meet.
event?
It's the biggest car meet in the country.
It's
been
I don't
around.
know.
It's been around for
I
like
gotta
forever.
Educate myself.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
3 or 4 a year now.
Okay.
Dang.
They have like their spring meet in Atlanta, their
Four
summer
seasons.
meet in Nashville, their hometown, and then they do a fall one in Bowling Green, Kentucky,
Oh,
where
okay.
Holly is based out of.
Nice.
Gotcha. The event's ringing a bell, but it's like it's probably one of those things I need to like put my eyes on.
You've probably
before
seen it
Yeah.
in
right.
the past because
right.
it's like it's for everyone. It's not like JDM specific or
It's-
anything.
Right.
It's just
car.
You could probably see a little bit of everything there.
Right.
Huh?
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
it's like
that.
well it's for imports.
Sure.
So it's like really anything that's not American
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
there.
I love that. That's cool because that to me when I was a kid, that's all you saw was American. It's not that I didn't like it, but I don't know. When I was little, I remember my mom used to had this job, and every day I'd go with her and do whatever. But we passed the BMW dealership and all those little 3 Series with those little 4 round
Yeah.
eyes. They'd just all be out there, and I remember thinking, "What is that?" As
Yeah,
a
it
kid,
just look different.
yeah, and
right.
so yeah, I always was into
It's important.
all cars, not just American cars.
Yeah, and like Import Alliance is great. It's a super cool event. It's huge, man. It's huge. It's at Atlanta Motor Speedway,
Oh, okay.
so
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
massive. And
That's
they do like
massive.
drifting. They've got big ass car show,
Uh-huh.
like vending, all sorts of random stuff. Like
Sounds like a lot of people.
it's
A
it's
lot.
like 20 to 30,000
Yeah,
people.
a lot of people.
Are you going down there with the brand?
Not this year.
Okay.
I am just had
Just
some-
going.
Just some financial struggles, so I'm like,
Yeah.
don't have enough merchandise to really
Oh,
justify
gotcha, yeah.
vending.
Mhm.
But Grip Roll hit me up about helping them run their booth
Oh,
and
rad.
stuff. So
Very cool.
get to go kick it with the homies and stuff. And
Are you going to be able to like advertise TougeCon?
probably. I
a
mean,
little bit?
I just
At least
I don't
word of
have
mouth.
I don't have any TougeCon marketing material to take to that
Oh,
show,
right, yeah.
which I should, but
still word of mouth, right?
yeah, I tell people
You're
everyone.
gonna meet hella people.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and people have seen the video and stuff, and
Yeah.
it'll get around.
Well,
I'm not worried about TougeCon.
No.
How many times?
There's
This
TougeCon, but there's also like the fact that like you're gonna get to go to an event not with any responsibility.
Yeah,
And I think
Yeah.
dude,
Have a good
I can really proclaim that as somebody who has done events and are taxed when you're doing an event, it's nice to go to an event and just see what other people do and see how they like execute things, just for reference purposes.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think that's one reason like because people comment on like how well organized the event is, and I think part of that is, I had 2 years of solid vending experience, like going all over the country, and it's like, you pick and choose, like, oh, these guys did this well, these guys did this well, I didn't like how this was ran. That's part of the reason we do such a long window for vendors, is like, if they're driving in, we're in such a remote location, so it's like, yeah, everyone's got a 5-hour drive at least. So it's like, like, here's a whole day, like,
Just
go
to
set
get
up. It's locked up. It's one of the most secure buildings in the fucking
dude,
town.
as a vendor, man, I can't stress it enough. It was the best thing.
Yeah.
It was so good to just like go in and set up and then be like, okay, like kind of literally get to set up and like sit back and be like, okay, what do I want to do? Like, how do we want to like clean this up? Maybe I could change this like this. Now you didn't have that same luxury because you were pulled all these different directions. So
And I was
Yankee
late
Special was
on my. It was a trial run for my new booth setup.
Oh, that's
year.
right. That's right.
You got to get it
But
dialed in. Right?
we gotta add something to that award-winning booth setup.
Award-winning
That's right.
booth setup. It won an award at Gatlinburg.
Yeah, he
a
won
week
an
later
award for the setup.
for the best
Yeah.
booth, which
Wow.
was like, Gatlinburg's a huge show.
That
There's
was-
probably like 40
That was
or
slammed
50
enough?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like 40 vendors.
Yeah.
And I have a 10-foot wide, almost 3-foot tall
It's so sick.
sign
I wonder if I can find
with
it.
channel letters
I'm
on
gonna
it.
see if I can find it.
And
I can find it.
it's on my Instagram.
Yeah. Let's go over here.
And yeah, like, it's all made out of like extruded aluminum, has chain link fence in it. Like, it took me a year to plan how to build this, because I knew I had like a vision of what I wanted to achieve.
Right.
And yeah, there it is.
There we go.
That's part of it.
See, we gotta get the screen here. There we go.
Beamer.
Yeah, that's my friend Marcus's
There we go.
drift
There it is.
car. Because it was like after we had, I think it was after day one.
Are there other pictures? Here we go. There we go.
Yeah, so like all the clothes actually hang on like the chain link.
Yeah.
It's
and
so sick.
It's all
It
lit
really
up
is, dude.
inside. It was nuts.
Do you have some other pictures where you have?
I think
stuff?
there's one of
Yeah.
with the award. Yeah, there it
With the
is.
Stuff all on it.
Here, this
Yeah.
one. Boom. There's the award. And then it's
You
the,
got
I think
that
it's the post before this
street
is you
aesthetic.
there. This is what I was
Yeah.
talking about. This is you at the event. And like the way you're able to hang stuff up on the
Yeah.
On the chain link?
I love that. And it's cool cuz like you got the skateboards, you got the Grip Royal collab wheel over there. You can just hang stuff in just like whatever orientation you want to do. Like, oh, that's so cool. I love that so much. And then the lighting, you got
Yeah,
all the
light up
lighting around
sign
it,
was-
dude. So
A
cool.
lot of sign is rad to me.
Super proper.
Yeah, I had a ton of vendors walk
It's
up
got
to
the
me.
feel.
Yeah, they're like, dude, how the fuck did you make this? And they're like, what? They're just like, what? And
I love that, dude.
You
I
look at
love
him
that
like,
so
"Do you like it?
much."
You
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it?
You like
And a
this?
couple people were like, hey man, like, where did you buy this? I'm like,
Like,
I built it.
Made it.
Like, I spent, because they're like, well, how much would it cost for you to make another one? I'm like, I don't know. Do you
I
have
don't know.
25 grand?
Yeah, right.
Because like, it spent a year of just
My
like
time. Yeah.
so much real estate taken up here. Just like, how the fuck am I going to build this? Because
Yeah.
I fit all of this in a Chevy Astro.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's where like the time took to like figure out how to build it.
Like you can't just put a whole new trailer together. Just
Yeah,
to
I
haul
don't
your
have
booze.
Right,
like a
right.
24-foot enclosed trailer,
Right.
which would be sick.
Right,
But like,
right.
I have a shitty little Astro van.
You had
That's
to
right.
figure out how to build a transformer booth.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and also too something that like stands out, because you really do want the like that visual draw to it.
Yeah, if you're with 40
dude, that
40
thing,
other booths, you know, you want them to go, you know.
Yeah.
Well, the booths and the other people walking in. I mean, like that was the
Eyes
thing.
gonna go to
I
your
mean,
place.
dude, I mean, there was the spectacle that you had of people across the town center, but there was like also just like people seeing that, and then like it's total FOMO, because like people are like, what is that?
Yeah.
Maybe I should stand in line too.
Yeah.
Like, that was so great.
Yeah.
So they shuffle over.
It was great.
Yeah,
It
because
was
like
great.
booth aesthetic is a huge
Mhm.
thing with me.
Yeah.
And like it's a straight up representation of your brand.
Yeah.
And that's something I've always tried to stand out any way I can. And it was the best thing, like learning like one of my first years at Import Alliance. I'm just next to Grip Royal's booth, and across from us is another brand, and they're killing it. And because there's people in the line and my booth looks interesting, they notice my booth, and they're like,
That's right.
I'm going to finish buying stuff here, and I'm going to go
Go
check
that
out their stuff. And it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this shot was something I had wanted to do since I came up with the idea, and Marcus was there, and I was like, they're shutting down the whole convention center because
You're towards the end.
It was the end of day one.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, can I have 5 minutes to take some photos of Marcus's car in the booth? And
That's
they're
great.
like, yeah, that's fine.
That's great.
And that thing is a ripper.
Looks like it.
Looks like it.
It's got a huge.
Might have a turbo in it.
No, it's got a LS.
LS.
Oh, he did that.
Dude, LS, dude. Yeah. In the drift world, LS is king.
Yeah, he's about to put it had a 5.3 in it. It's about to have a 6.0.
Our friend did that. What's his name?
Oh.
Harold did that. Justin
Oh,
Harold used
Justin
to have
Harold,
an old
yeah,
school
yeah.
3
Yeah,
Series
yeah,
with
yeah.
a crate motor. I think he just dropped a crate motor in it.
Right. But
Can't
yeah,
beat
dude.
it. That's what
Very sick.
I think that's rad to do that to those BMWs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like having a car inside of your booth. I mean, like that's not everybody can do that.
Yeah, it's sick. Yeah, like I've
Very
designed
cool.
it so that long term it's modular. So if like I want to have a 30 by 10
Mhm.
or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Wherever
I'll
you
be
go,
able
if you've
to-
got minimal space, you
Or-
can still set up.
Or whatever, like you're, you can afford at that event, because
Yeah.
like booth space, like it's increases like every 10 by 10 you get.
Yeah, it
you
gets
acquire, so.
expensive. But yeah, like I unveiled it at TougeCon. That was like my big thing. I was like, I'm gonna unleash this behemoth,
Yeah.
and man, it was so hard because I'd never constructed it, and
It was the trial run of the setup.
I was
Like,
it's a-
finalizing the chain link the morning of the event. So like I woke up super early, sent off all the run groups with my business partner and stuff and the staff, and then I was like, cool, I have to go finish things.
I got to work.
Sounds like a theme with you. You're like, day of, I was doing this the day
Yeah.
of.
Well, it's
morning
like,
of.
because I'm essentially running two brands
Yeah.
at one event. And luckily my wife like ran my booth. And the thing is, like, I had just gotten married 2 weeks before TougeCon. So
Thanks, honey. I need your help.
So it's like, well, no, that was just like the stress of like planning a wedding.
No, I get that. I get
and
that.
everything else.
And then it's finally over, and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I'm doing all this stuff.
But yeah, Gracie ran the booth and killed it, and
Props.
it enabled me to actually like run the event. Because the year before, as soon as the event started and I had this huge line, I just turned my radio off. I was like,
Because that's all you can do.
I
It's
have to like,
you're locked.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is.
I'm
my-
not going anywhere for a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like that for like 3.5 hours straight.
Yeah.
And I was like, finally got to take a beer break. I was like, oh my God, I'm
I
exhausted.
need this. So talking about September, is there any plans that you can talk about that's done right now that can or are we just simply too soon to like talk about what's going to happen
We're
then?
in talks with a new spot for Underground.
Okay.
It's just a bit bigger,
Yeah.
a little more open. So that's really the only thing. Hopefully it all works out.
So underground will be bigger.
Yeah.
It allows it to be bigger.
Yeah, allows it to
Mhm.
be bigger, allows more people to be in there. Because we had, we crammed 2,000 people almost into a tiny little parking garage. So it was just,
I liked it.
it was cool, but I'd like to,
it was packed.
we're expecting, essentially
More people want to be
compensating
involved.
for
So,
for the growth.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's like, if we have 4,000 people trying to cram themselves in there,
Yeah.
That'd be
like,
sick, huh?
Yeah. Well, and then
You wouldn't
also
be able
not
to
even just the people, but the cars. So like more cars.
Yeah, won't be
'Cause
able
I
to
think
get more
that was
cars.
that was one of the struggles.
Yeah. And we're like, if all works out, we'll have a lot more parking available in the area. So
Right.
that way, like, if you didn't get in the parking deck, you'll be able to, like, park and, just kind of, we might even unload some, like VIP spots that, like, you would have to buy.
Yeah.
But, like, it's essentially the same cost as, like, paying for parking anyways.
Sure.
So you'd get a definite spot in there.
That's what I was kind of wondering.
That's pretty chill.
It might have to come to some of that.
Yeah.
Or it's like you're paying for parking, but you're like a part of a show too.
Yeah.
Like, that's
you get to, like,
pretty chill.
it's like a $20 car show at that
Mhm.
point. Like, you get to show off your car at this huge event, in a really cool spot.
And be a part of all of like the photography and videography that
Exactly.
goes down. Like, I'm sorry, like I didn't have my car involved in this, but like if you had your car at that event, there is undoubtedly that you felt value from it. Like when you left and you're like, oh, my car was a part of that.
Yeah.
That landscape of what people saw, that was my car's in that.
Dude, like the
that's
first year
dope.
we did Underground, I parked my Lexus there, and, all I had on it was some Evo 8 wheels and
Mhm.
an underglow kit.
Yeah.
And people were like, yo, that thing is sick.
But in the right setting,
And it just
dude.
looked
In the right
cool,
setting,
like, all
dude.
the lights were
Yeah,
going. Like, I had,
exactly.
like,
Yeah,
green underglow going the whole time.
Yep.
And it just looked cool. So it's
Yeah.
like, just set the tone.
Yeah, and I think that if you're, calling to people that may want to bring their car, like there's so much value in that.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, it's just kind of weird, like, how successful it was.
Yeah, and like I was saying before too about like how it's not fake. Like, it's so just when you're there, it's like I was like maybe I was even looking for it. Like, I was like looking for, like, does this feel manufactured? Have we screwed up?
Yeah.
Because like I'm trying to figure out ways that I can make things better, and I'm like looking around like this is just natural cool. It's just like natural, and nobody feels, you can see it in the people. Nobody feels pressured. Everybody's just kind of smiling and laughing and telling stories about cars, and it's like car culture at the max.
Yeah. It was super cool seeing, like, all the little pop-up, like, car meets happening for the people that couldn't park inside too.
That's
It's
great.
just like, oh yeah,
It's infectious.
Yeah, it's like everybody's just like hanging out and having a good time and walking over. Like, nobody got really like mad. That's like, oh, I couldn't get a spot. Dang, I missed my shot.
Right.
Like, well, I'll just go
They'll
park.
figure
I'll just
something
go
out.
find a parking spot.
Yeah.
And I'll come check it out.
Yeah, and I mean, like, because I know that the event is JDM focused, but like, there people like me. I got a Volkswagen, and I'm sure it's like, yeah, we're like, that's not a part of that, but then like the Volkswagens would naturally hover,
Mhm.
gravitate to each other,
Yeah.
find a little corner to put themselves, and the same with like supercars that because I saw a ton.
Yeah.
That during I know it was TougeCon, but it was like I saw a bunch of supercars.
Yeah, and Underground's really like there for the people. It's just there
Sure.
for everybody. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you're a car guy.
Yeah.
Come check it out.
I'm
And
glad you
so
said
is-
that.
And even so is like the main event. Like, it's just the car show.
The
It's
car-
themed
There you go.
for JDM, but like the drives, like, originally we were like super stringent on the beta test. It was like only 90s cars, only 90s JDM, and came to the conclusion it's like, we're adults. Sometimes our 90s shitboxes don't work, and I want to still enjoy this event. So like, let me take something that does run
Mm-hmm.
or
True.
might have air conditioning.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Well, and I mean, as time goes on, the newer cars are just being
yeah,
utilized more.
yeah,
So I mean, like, I've actually gotten more comfortable with like modern, Civic Type R's.
yeah,
Because when they first came out, I was like, yeah, you call yourself a Civic, but it's like you're just,
kind
but
of
like,
looks like a WRX.
Yeah,
exactly.
we always do that with the newer model because like come on, man. What'd you do to it?
Like WRX. You just
Yeah.
talked about WRX. The same deal.
Oh yeah.
Same deal happens.
You don't like them big old black bumpers?
I just don't. I'm not a Subaru guy. I owned one for a while.
We have one, and I've hit some milestones on it and been kind of bummed about some of the things that we've had to do to it that shouldn't have.
Oh, like
Some repairs we shouldn't have to do. I
head
wouldn't-
gaskets, valve cover gaskets,
Water pump.
What?
Just naming.
engine failure.
I'm naming
No, I'm
Subaru
talking like little
problems.
things like wheel bearings or like all the bushings in the big control arms and stuff. Like what? We're not out super off roading it, and we're sure not out
Mm-hmm.
rally running it. What?
Yeah.
So I don't. It's weird.
Yeah. Which I think
Chevy's the same way. I
Subarus are
mean, some
great.
American cars
Like,
are that way too.
Subarus are a killer. You know, they've got their rally stuff. I've been a diehard drift kid
Yeah.
since day one. Like, my first car was a 240.
Initial
I was
D
going to ask you
gotcha.
about that. What was your
Yeah,
first
my
official?
very first
Yeah.
car was a 240 SX. And then the car after that was a Miata.
My first car was a Miata.
Dude, Miatas are
Blue?
great.
The
dude.
blue one.
I
Yeah.
remember
I
that.
had
Yeah.
a black
Yeah.
95.
Nice.
Brendan
I
had
had a
that bright
blue
ass-
blue 93.
Ooh, 1.6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I had a 1.8.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a 1.6 Celica.
It's funny. You did. It's fun. It's funny how like just single like digit liter changes mean so much with like a small car.
Yeah.
Like it's like just
Travis
a
beat
little,
my ass in like a Mitsubishi Galant. We had a 1.8 in it, and I had a 1.6, and I was
Yeah.
a coupe. I was like, what the?
A Galant beat me. You don't tell people that, Brad. A Galant
It
beat
happens.
you.
It happens.
Hey, man, it could have been a VR4.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
You never
that-
know.
That's
You'd
like,
be
a-
like,
those
that's
were
like
tight.
an Evo 4 or
Yeah,
Evo 3 or
right.
something.
you wouldn't even know it'd be that sleeper.
Yeah. I think it's funny too. Like I remember like so much of like the deeper car knowledge that I have of retro cars and even in the JDM circuit comes from games like Gran Turismo 2.
Oh, yeah.
Like being able
Just
to
be like,
like
just dig in and
dig
build it
into-
out, and
and they would in the game they like talk to you about the details and
Yeah.
like the like why you would change an engine type or something like that, why you would
Yeah.
do an engine swap, and it just made you like think deeper.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then
you understand it better when you see that
yeah
type of thing.
mm-hmm.
Did you ever play Auto Modelista?
yeah
Auto Modelista is one of my absolute favorite car
Yeah.
games ever.
yeah
And it is what like helped inspire, like spawn my obsession with like K cars.
sure yep
Because like it was the first car game that I played that actually had K cars, aside from
Mhm.
like Gran Turismo.
sure Gran Turismo yep
Like
and even in Gran Turismo it was like it was only like some first parts of the game and you kind of graduated out of
Yeah.
the K cars.
yeah, you're like
Yeah.
no, we're in
Too
real
slow.
cars now.
Too slow.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
like Auto Modelista was like,
But-
all these weird like
Yeah.
niche brands and
Uh-huh.
stuff like Tommy
And-
Kyra.
And there's
Yeah.
like cups that are like cup races that are like built around all of that, and you
Yeah.
like spend a lot of
That's
time
what I thought
developing
was cool.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really my ultimate goal, is just to have a bunch of K cars.
Right.
But I always,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
said, those games, though, you had a little bit of everything. You're like, I wasn't going to give up on my K cars, even though I had some of these
Yeah,
other
Mhm.
fast ones. But
Yep.
yeah,
it was always good. Like I think you're similar. You got several cars in there that you can pull.
Um,
and let you
Yeah,
drive.
yeah. So Assetto Corsa is like the game that everybody mods,
oh yeah.
and
so
like if
good.
you're drifting, Assetto Corsa.
Yeah.
But
That's what
yeah,
I like is you have all those different. You
Mhm.
basically have a garage full of cars that go. on
Oh
there.
yeah, dude. Yeah, don't get me started on sim
Dude,
talk.
sim
Gosh.
is the best.
Yeah,
It's the best way to learn
It's-
how to drift.
it is. It's to learn how to drift and just to learn how to understand what you should be doing when you're driving.
Mhm.
Like because like like I do I kind of have more of like a track focus like GT3 racing, and like I didn't really understand trail braking before.
yeah,
And like playing games like Gran Turismo in the day, you did it, but you kind of didn't understand what you were doing with the
Right.
controller. You're just
Yeah.
kind of like button mashing, you know what I mean? And you're like, I'm going fast, blah, 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 like, but like when you're actually like needing to like understand, okay, that like it's a certain amount of like, pedal control,
yeah,
and then balancing that with like, like inducing oversteer,
Yeah.
for speed. and like hitting an angle. It's like none of that stuff actually like hit you when you were playing those games. And now, you know, I feel like that sim has like opened up this like whole new realm for people that want to get into any sort of racing, whatever it is.
It's just so accessible now.
Yeah. Accessibility is the huge part.
Like left foot braking stuff like didn't make sense to me.
Learning
in real life.
Learning
like,
heel toe.
No, you weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but then it's like, oh yeah, if I do that, I can rotate the car a bit more, you know.
Well, and the best thing is that you can test. Like when you're out in the road, you're not supposed to like. I mean, you know, some of us will get a little crazy, but like, you know, you can test concepts, you know, of something, and like a heel toe concept, like actually like just trying it in the comfort of your own home without anybody like looking at you. Like you're just like you can learn,
or wrecking your mom's car,
or wrecking
your dad's car, or whatever. You happen to
right.
Only car option you have to try it. You know.
I don't know that my parents ever had anything that was like I wanted to like rip, you know, like.
No, my dad had a Chevy Astro.
Hey, my parents.
That's why you got one.
My parents
had.
That's
my dad's old van.
Yeah, my
Is
parents
it really?
had a Corsica.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
That's
we had
cool.
a Corsica. It was like the old Beretta.
Corsica.
4-door Beretta.
We had a 93 Astro first.
There you go.
Called it the Silver Bullet.
Nice.
And that was my vehicle that I got to drive when I turned 16, because I didn't buy my first car until I was 17. And so I was like, well, I got a job, so I need to drive something. So my dad let me drive the old Silver Bullet. Man, I did so much dumb shit with that.
That's great.
Van.
That's great.
Like, because it's rear-wheel drive.
No.
Yeah,
and it'd be like raining, and I'd be like,
oh right.
I'd be like,
you probably just sling one out here.
Yeah, let me figure this out.
No, vans are tight, and like you were talking about how you know you use the van for work and like for like moving around the booth and stuff, and like dude, being able to just throw stuff in a van, like so good.
I would definitely like to upgrade, because I drove that fucker to Connecticut last year.
Yeah.
Worst decision of my life,
Ah.
because it's a cargo van. It's empty.
Yeah, it's a box.
I just have merch in there, and I'm alone for 22 hours.
Yeah,
just all the wind noise and everything. It's like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, long trip with
Yeah.
Well, I mean, most people. I mean, the I guess the grown-up version is a Sprinter van. You know. I
want to get like
another Esther van.
I want to get a trailer. Like I want to get
there you go.
something that can actually haul a trailer, and
with all your stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to keep it separate, so that way, like, if I do want to take my car to a track or to an event or whatever, just load it up. And instead, right now, like, I have no means of doing that.
Yeah.
You know, technically, the Astro could haul the Lexus too.
But it'd be like Max.
But it would be.
And you'd be going slow.
In the butt.
Yeah.
You're putting a lot of work on the engine.
Springs and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a decent amount. It's got like a 6,000 pound towing rating as is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like that.
But
plus
the
merch.
Yeah.
And then the booth.
They're like, oh, dude,
you're
already
over at that point.
Yeah.
They're thinking you slammed it in the back. And you're like, no, it's just full of stuff.
You're doing this. It's a squatted van.
Yeah, squatted van. Like,
Just
not for real. It's because all my stuff.
Well, I
horrible.
used to. So before the van, I had a little Nissan hardbody, little like 96.
Yeah.
I remember that. You show me some pictures of it.
Drove everywhere with the booth in that little fucker.
There you go.
I drove that
There you
fucker to
go.
like Michigan
Right.
for
That's
Grid
a long
Life.
way.
And it was funny when I pulled up to Michigan. We had a cool little like cove we built with me and my friends, like Grip Royal, Kansas, Tire Streets, Nate Hamilton. We had this little like cove, and they're like, "Yeah, you just shoved me in the middle." And I pull up. I was the last one there, obviously. And they're like, "Yeah, you need to pop up your tent." So I was like, "Well, it's all deep in there." So I start pulling stuff out, and they're like, "What the fuck is this clown car?" So
He's doing the Volkswagen thing where the clowns are popping out.
Dude, just like it's like Tetris, man. Like
it's perfect. You're like, no, I got a system, brother. I got a system.
Yeah.
And it worked out great. But I love that little truck. My little one of my friend's little brothers bought it from me.
So it's still around.
So it's still around, like taken care of. Its last iteration, I put Hummer H3 wheels on it that were chrome.
That's
and
wild.
It was sick.
That's wild.
Dude, they were perfect fit. Perfect
really?
width, same lug pattern. Dude,
Wow.
they like were flush to the body. Like
Wow. Like it was like, man.
I was originally going to put
trip.
some like low pro tires on it, and then the tires I had that were brand new, I was going to take them off a set of wheels that I had. Well, Jake and I accidentally screwed one up. So I was like, well, fuck, now I got to order some tires. So I was like, I'll just order some like balloon tires because I need comfort.
Yeah.
And best decision I ever made.
That's great.
Because I drove it to like 10 hours, like 2 weeks later.
You needed that comfort
Cushed
ride.
out, yeah.
You needed that comfort ride.
Yeah. No, the little
That's
truck
great.
ruled, man. Little air, because it was slammed too. It wasn't just like a regular little truck. It was slammed on the ground, like this high off the ground. And I would load it up. Had little air shocks that I put in the back. So I would just load them up with like 40 pounds of pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
And then just throw everything in there. And it just sat perfectly level. And just went, doo-doo-doo.
Like you didn't have to get the leveling.
Yeah,
kit.
and I used to run it with like 16-inch by 10-inch wide wheels in all four corners.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, it just looked obnoxious.
Yeah, right. You were the mini truck for sure.
Yeah.
I remember those little trucks. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that little thing. I was this close. I was like, I might just put like a Lexus V8 or something in here. And I was like,
Toss a
nah.
camper
those
shell
things
on it.
with
you're
already-
saying.
Yeah, I already had a camper shell on
Oh,
it.
you did it with a camper shell. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
could
that was, like, the best
already
thing.
get the back end loose on those really easily.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, especially when it snowed.
So easily.
Yeah, that was the best little truck.
Yeah.
Best $1,900 I ever spent.
My first rear-wheel drive car, this little old lady gave my dad. She's like passed away, and she's like, I just want y'all to have this car. It was an old Datsun 210, like an 80.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
a four-door wagon, but it was rear-wheel drive.
Oh, dude. And
And I was skating at the time, and I'm like, hey, it was perfect. Like I could load 4 dudes, boards in the back,
dude, speaking of
get it sideways.
Yeah, and speaking of like car culture that has value, like Datsun stuff, like
Yep.
dude,
Me and
That's
Roger
insane.
if
jumped
you
it.
would have held on to that,
Yeah, me and
Yeah.
Roger jumped it, and it landed into in East Arkansas, landed into a cotton field that was just mud.
Yeah,
And they had to
sounds
pull
about
us
right.
out, and I drove that shit home.
there you go.
We hit a culvert and launched and landed. They pulled it out, and I drove
That's
it home.
great.
Man.
That's
We
great.
were going to Memphis. There you go.
There you go.
Memphis,
You got some East Arkansas shenanigans.
Totally.
dude.
Yeah,
You know about some rice fields, huh?
Yeah.
yeah, they're out there.
Riceland is
Skaters
based out
and
of
rice
Jonesboro.
fields. Yep, totally. East Arkansas.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Well, man, we're getting close to the 2-hour mark. You want to shout out anything, any plans or anything you want to plug that's coming up for Yankee or for TougeCon? I know that the event's been, we talked about September 6th, 7th. Like, do you have any projections on announcements for when things will be open for people?
Yeah, I'll probably open it up. We'd like to keep about 3 months in advance.
Okay.
At the longest term.
Yeah.
We're just we have to physically and personally like finalize the routes, make sure that they work. If there's any road construction, adapt to it, etc.
Right.
So there's a lot of like logistical stuff we do. We're not just like dilly dallying, waiting,
Yeah.
And we're still like wrapping up our like sponsor stuff. So once all that stuff's wrapped up and the routes are wrapped up, we'll start like announcing stuff and releasing it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Especially like vendors and all that other stuff. Like want to give people enough time to plan for it and all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least just even having a date, that's like the first thing that, blocking out like this weekend of the 6th and 7th
Yeah, we had people just on us for months
for a date.
for a date.
When did it happen? When's it going down?
And they're like, we're like, look, we have to sit down with the city. Like,
There's a lot of stuff that goes around
Yeah.
landing that date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we finally settled on that. And, like the football games, that's a big one. Like, we have to do it around that football schedule, which really sucks.
Yeah.
And but also being conscious of like, what other events are going on in the country?
Yeah.
Like, don't want to mess with that. Or like,
Sure.
there was like some special guests I wanted to bring last year, but it's like our event fell on the same date as like the LZ World Tour in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, well, everybody I talked to that I wanted to come here
It's not going to work.
is going to be in Canada.
Yeah.
So,
Right on.
but that's a cool ass event. And, I totally get it. I would have skipped TougeCon to go to Tristan Kansas too.
Well, hey, I'm gonna defend you. I'm gonna say don't skip TougeCon.
Come to Fayetteville.
Yeah, that's
don't
why we
skip
moved it and
TougeCon.
stuff and like make it, more accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a genuine, unique experience.
For sure. Right on.
Other than that, we're just announcing stuff in the next couple months. To Yankee stuff is really just kind of, I'm working on just releasing some new merch and some other things that got cooked up, and and just kind of work on the print shop.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, if you need any print needs, they can find where that information at.
Tora.rama on Instagram.
Okay.
Or just Instagram me on like any of my pages. You know, if you got questions,
they're pretty shareable.
Tiger Sasha, Yankee, whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of share the printing stuff on all the platforms.
Right.
But yeah,
hit
them up.
Yeah. Stoked you came.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys for having me on here.
Yeah.
This has been fun.
Yeah, dude.
It's cool being on a podcast in a real podcast studio.
It's a real studio.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks for everybody that watched, and come to TougeCon next year.
Hell yeah.
This year and next year.
Yeah.
All years.
We'll be there.
We will be there.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna do something.
We'll be there though.
Yeah.
Do something cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Yep. All right. See you guys.
All right.
Bye.